Hey, fellow team players, we missed you last week. I hope you enjoyed the holiday. Joe and I are back with another edition of the Fantasy DFS Hour, as we like to call it. We're going to break down some players that we like this week. We're going to make some lineups, and if you want to play along with us, make sure you try one of our lineups in your lineups. Let's get it going.
Welcome to Local Football Flavor, where we talk to local fans to get the real information of what's going on with their team. And welcome. So here we are, Bob. Let's see what we got going this week. There's a lot of things afoot. So let's just start with the matchups here, Bob, because
there are many things afoot, Joe, to be honest with you. And, you know, one of the things we need to really watch out for is Cleveland this week.
Mm-hmm.
Houston is a doormat of the league, but
so is Cleveland's defense.
Deshaun Watson is supposed to play this week.
Oh, he is. He's not supposed to. He is.
And that could definitely change the way that this game goes, because Jacoby Brissett was definitely doing something for Cleveland. But as you know, for everybody here, that we're not big Cleveland supporters here. So, I mean, to pick any Cleveland player against Houston right now depends on how much Deshaun Watson is. You know, he would be the guy that I would think about. I would also think about Nick Chubb, but at that price point, it's a little too expensive. Now, Josh Jacobs absolutely went insane for like another week this year. He's had, I think, 3 weeks where he scored the most fantasy points.
Well, he's the number 2 running back in fantasy right now
I have ever seen him score. And so with the injury, especially with it's a good matchup against that defense, but I don't know if he's going to be able to take advantage of it if he is as
it's just hard to go that much, put up 300 total yards, and then the following week to present it again. So as I look at each of the individual matchups this week, looking at the Cleveland-Houston one, let's start there as you brought up with Chubb. As you're right, Houston's offense is if you stop Pierce, you stop the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Their passing game is incredibly limited. And
well, here's a funny statistic that got brought up on a couple of TikToks that I came across. And I don't want to interrupt you, but I think you're going to find the statistic rather annoying, actually.
Bring it on me.
For the 6 weeks that Josh Allen has been limited by an injury, and that must be said because he has been limited in some way, shape, or form. His passing statistics over those 6 weeks that he was injured, not including last week, were the absolute same as Davis Mills.
Well, that is true. There's 2 gigantic differences.
And that's how people, when we look at Houston is a bad team right now.
Yeah.
And Josh Allen was definitely hurt over the last couple of weeks, but the fact that they started a quarterback even worse than Davis Mills says a lot about what that game is actually going to be. I think.
See, to me, that actually says more about Davis Mills, because Allen was not the worst quarterback in football throughout. It's rough. First off, Rodgers been immensely worse than him. And hey, also, did you see the day that he announced he had a broken thumb?
He had a thumb injury, and then, oh my gosh, and then he got hurt with his abdomen. I'm over Rodgers, man.
You have to tell me how that's not a complete and utter violation of the injury policy of the NFL. You can't have a broken thumb and not disclose it.
He wasn't disclosed at any point at any time during any of the weeks.
And I'm saying the Patriots have been fined incredible amounts of money for that.
Yeah.
How is Green Bay just scapegoating like, oh, nothing happened? That is a major ethical problem.
Idea. And it's super annoying, because if that was his thumb doing all of that stupid throwing.
Well, now we got some basis. It might not be he's done. It might have been like he was just broken. All right, dudes get injured. Shit happens. But at the end of the day, you can't be lying about not being injured. Again, New England just accepts the fact they're going to cut that check. Like, that's not a way to live. So as I'm looking at this week, though, I think that Pierce has been really down for the last couple of games, but Cleveland's run defense is horrendous.
Mhm.
And if you're Houston, this game of Watson coming back to town essentially is their Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And if I'm them, I'm playing an incredible control the ball kind of game. Don't let him out there. Make him feel the pressure of fewer possessions and just wait for him to throw the ball to you. And I am incredibly leaning towards Pierce this week for that reason. I know that he has been getting bottled up a couple weeks here,
Mhm.
but I just look at this as Houston is my home dog of the week this week. I think they're
Oof.
going to pull it out. And I also think that they're going to do it strictly through Pierce. And when I look at if I'm going to draw a game plan for the Texans to beat the Browns, there's no reasonable way to do it without them controlling the game by running the ball. And
Yeah.
since I think they're going to win, I am essentially telling you I think Pierce is going to have a big
Well,
game.
okay, so what's Pierce's value at here? Because for those people that want to play Pierce, you really
5,500.
have
It's
to
a very
consider
good
the
value.
price. So okay, so they're each of those defenses is the worst against the run.
Yeah, 1 and
So
2. Yeah.
it is the two worst defenses against the run. And it is highly possible that you could play both Chubb and Pierce at the price
I don't
point.
want Chubb this week.
I don't either,
And
but
it's
I'm
nothing
saying
about Chubb. It's about the ego that is Deshaun Watson.
I get it. I understand that. But I'm saying that if you were a lineup based person and it was strictly based upon matchup,
Mm-hmm.
you could find a way to get those two in the lineup. Now, for myself, I really don't want to touch anybody from Houston because
Very
the
fair argument. Cannot fight that.
the
Cannot fight that.
capacity of that offense is you're looking at 120 yards total.
Yeah, no, that
all players.
this is. I mean, Lovie Smith will never get yelled at. Because he looks like Santa Claus,
Mm-hmm.
and B, because everyone knew what he walked into and why he's there.
Right.
But that's a proud man who's made the Bears good. Let's just look at that sentence real quick. He took the Bears to the playoffs and made them respectable when they had no right ever.
Who else has he coached for?
Other than Chicago?
Mm-hmm.
I believe that was his only other head coaching stop. He's been coordinator all over the place.
I thought at one point in time he was in Denver for some reason.
No, he went to the University of Illinois.
Oh, yeah, Illinois.
So
gotta love those fighting Illinois.
And he actually made them respectable. Because I mean, my entire life, Illinois football have been horrendous.
Now here's the thing about Houston, and I don't want to beat a dead horse with Houston because literally that's what it is. But a lot of people thought that Houston would be better this year. And I was talking to a guy on Twitter earlier this year, and I think he was the Davis Mills truther, I believe it was. And he and I were talking about that we really didn't think that Davis Mills was bad, but this year he's been bad. And
yeah, we're not sure he's good either, though.
But I'm not completely sure that in general that team, there is one thing that I do know is that there is some semblance that they can stop certain things sometimes. Because they do.
Dude, that's more holes in Kyler Murray's game. How weak is a sentence is that?
They do some things sometimes. It's like the Packers, right? They do some things sometimes. And sometimes we're just oh, okay. You have the capacity to be decent. But the fact that they cannot do anything on offense and are so limited, Brandon Cooks should be doing more. Nico Collins should be doing more.
Yes,
and
Nico Collins definitely should be doing more.
And it's not happening. And whether that's all fully Davis Mills' fault or if it's bad game planning, bad scheming, I'm not 100% sure what the reason is, but
obviously we haven't broken down a Houston tape for the strategies of football because no one has enough interest in Houston to warrant it. But watching them, and I think I've watched them in 3 games this year. And when they played Philadelphia on Thursday night, their line was moving
Can you
Philadelphia's
can you
defense
pull up
liner.
while you talk? Can you pull up their schedule so we can see how bad these losses actually are? I don't want to turn this into like a Houston instead of just DFS, but it must be discussed because it is a glorious matchup for Cleveland if they had their stuff.
I mean, yeah,
Ducks in a row.
they're 1-12, so
well, they're 1-9, or they're 1-9-1, I believe.
that is correct. Yeah, sorry, they're on their pathway of there. So when we go to the Texans, who are part of the AFC South,
alphabetically they're first,
which makes no sense to me. You know, you try looking at stuff.
So yeah, so this is what I'm seeing. Okay, I am seeing.
I like how ESPN keeps their record as they go.
Right now, I'm seeing a lot of potential that these were garbage time scores, but the only 2 games, there were 3 games that looks like they were already being blown out, which was the Chargers, the Raiders, the Eagles, and then
no, they were in that Eagles game. That was a 1-score game.
So it would have been Vegas, Chargers, Miami. They were completely blown out by Miami. Miami sat every starter after basically the second.
It was actually the only intelligent coaching decision Miami's done all year.
And so when I see this, what makes me nervous about any player from Houston is that, yes, Pierce had 2 games of 131 or 100 over 100 yards, and they both happen to be over 130 yards. And he has almost gotten to 100 yards 3 different times, right?
3 other times, yeah.
And so I will take the Miami game off the market because they basically gave up. And
same with the Washington game. He did nothing. Your leading rusher has 10 yards against Washington.
And that was the quarterback. So
yeah, that game was out of hand.
When I say that, like, Houston can sometimes do things, that the initial weeks of the season against very dysfunctional teams, they were doing things against them, like Indy, Denver, Chicago, Jacksonville, Tennessee. They took the Giants, and the Giants are a good team, right? And so I just question if it is Davis Mills, and like, because it doesn't seem to always be the defense's fault. Like, Miami is an aberration.
Yeah,
because Miami
can gash you if you're built wrong,
right? But Houston seems to be able to control through the air. They don't give up a lot of yards to the opposing quarterbacks.
That is true.
Speaking. Now, they haven't played anybody incredibly great, but they have. They played Herbert, they played Hurts, and they've played Tua. So they've lost all 3 of those games, and those quarterbacks did fairly well. But I'm saying, like something about Houston tells me that, like, something isn't right, and it's the offensive thing that's going on that's their fault. And they need to do something about it really quick because they're going to lose Dameon Pierce, and he is a talent.
Yeah, no, that's for real. Well, I mean, they have Pierce for a long time. They're not going to lose him tomorrow. As we look at the other games this week, Cincinnati, Kansas City, to me, is very interesting.
Could be a boat race.
First off, I think it's going to be a boat race. We look at what the last year's game was. There's no way Kansas City is not coming in wanting to murder them like crazy. The reason I think it's interesting, aside from all the dynamics that happened last year, is what's Chase going to be? You know, Jamar Chase to me is supposed to play this game, and it's a total wild card. You know, is he back? Is he not? Is he getting rushed back because this is Kansas City? And that's kind of what I'm suspect is happening.
This feels like a good game for Burrow, though.
It feels like a good game for Burrow, but I don't want to touch any of his receivers because if Chase is in, Higgins automatically goes down. But I don't want to go on Chase because I'm not sure if Chase is healthy. And now I'm basically playing a gambling. Is Chase really healthy or not? And does Kansas City treat Higgins or Chase as the number one?
One of the quarterbacks, based off of what you're saying here, I like Cincinnati in this game to basically try their best to outscore Patrick Mahomes. Now,
I think
we
they'll
don't
fall into
really,
the trap of trying to do that. I agree with that.
we don't know how Cincinnati is going to do it though, because if Joe Mixon is completely healthy, as we have been told, and if Jamar Chase comes back healthy, the the ball can really go anywhere. And for Cincinnati, they really, at least with this group of players over the last couple of years, they go with who's hot. They
Oh, they
really
do.
do. And so if Mixon's hot, and he's the guy all game. If T. Higgins is hot, he's the guy all game. And if Chase is
Kansas
hot,
City
he's
won't
the
let him
guy
run
all
on him.
game. And
I don't see this being I'm not saying
I don't
Mixon
see it
won't
being a
get
Mixon
the
game
100
either.
yards, but
I don't
I don't
being
see
a
him
Mixon
getting in the
game
end
either.
zone twice.
But I'm not even looking at Cincinnati this week, and go down a little bit more because there is a quarterback that I do have my eye on, and his name is Geno Smith.
Ooh.
I'm really captivated by the
Here, let's build yours,
potential.
Bob. So you know what up.
I'm really captivated by the potential of Geno Smith this year, and I'm really interested in this, particularly when we were talking with our Seattle guest. We
Whose episode will air on Saturday, by the way.
Yes. So when I think about Seattle, I think about all of the playmakers that they seem to have. And I think about how actually the Rams have been playing over the course of the year. And they have no offense of which to speak of at this moment in time. All of their players are hurt. And Seattle needs to win this game. And Seattle should win this game. And
Yeah.
at 7,600, this feels like a very much a value play at quarterback. Now, you might be looking
It also feels like Seattle could easily just say, hey, we're going to just run the ball with Walker down your face and we're going to win just 20-7.
It could be too, but I'm keeping that Aaron Donald into an account. And
Donald's not playing.
Donald's not playing. Well, then this game's going to be a bloodbath, it seems. But
it is. They basically shut everyone down in LA.
Now, I'm really curious about a couple quarterbacks underneath. One of the quarterbacks that I'm really curious about is Trevor Lawrence.
Me too.
And I'm really curious about him at that price point for a number of reasons. Is that Detroit as a unit on defense?
What are they doing?
I don't know what they do on a game-to-game basis, because there are some, like when they stopped Saquon Barkley completely, I was like, wait a minute, what in the world is that?
And then they let Justin Fields run on them for just miles.
Exactly. Right. And then, you're looking, you just look at this team and you're like, okay, is this going to be a game where Trevor Lawrence is going to overlook and be like, I'm going to be college Trevor Lawrence and I'm going to make a bajillion mistakes and Detroit's going to capitalize on that? Or is this going to be a Trevor Lawrence where we're actually going to get Trevor Lawrence getting 3 touchdowns to Christian Kirk? Right. And so, I'm really curious about Trevor Lawrence. I'm also really curious about Derek Carr. We saw Derek Carr and, with Josh Jacobs, and the Chargers are a completely beatable defense. And it's really interesting to me. Another player that I'm really curious about, and the two players that could be in this lineup other than Geno Smith, are Jimmy G and Mike White.
White's very interesting to me.
At those price points, it opens up the door to a lot of potential. Now, is Mike White going to go and do 3 touchdowns again? Maybe.
A lot of people are doing that against Minnesota, though.
Maybe,
it's
right?
At a dome.
Who did Minnesota play on Thanksgiving again?
New England.
Okay, they play New England. And how did New England do against them?
Well, New England does bad against everyone.
Not too great. But when I see these guys at this low price point, it's making me want to take a chance, because Mike White has actually put up games over the last 2 seasons where he's had 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, you know I love cheap quarterbacks. You don't need to sell me on the
and
Mike White.
Also, I'm very curious about Kenny Pickett. Atlanta's defense isn't really doing anything, but neither is
Yeah,
Kenny
but the
Pickett.
Steelers don't score enough points. Like, it would
I
be
hear
different
that.
if the Steelers would drop a 30 on someone every now and again, and then it can be like, oh, we'll jump on that. The Jets have put 30 up.
Yeah,
The
I hear
Steelers,
that.
I think, think they'll die if they put 30 up.
This is the reason why I'm a little bit of interested in Kenny Pickett is his rushing. So he could very well throw 2 interceptions, but also maybe get some rushing touchdowns. I'm not willing to take that gamble, but if you are as a person, it could be something that you might want to look into because
it's only $200. I personally, with all this Pittsburgh stuff around me, being in Kenny Pickett world, would rather go with Mike White.
Yeah. All right. So let's go to wide receiver world because that tends to be where we always screw up.
It depends.
On a week-to-week basis, we love the top guys as everybody does, but we always don't pick Davante Adams, and for some reason or another,
we also haven't been picking CeeDee Lamb, and he's like the number 6 receiver in football right now.
And every week we get blown out of the water. Now, is this the week for Davante Adams? Maybe not. Right? If you click on Davante Adams,
Davante Adams is their only one he throws to.
He's been averaging 17 points a game.
Yeah, but he's at double-digit targets. I know he's getting the ball.
Yeah.
You know, look at this. The play against Denver, third best defense, puts up nearly 30. I'm willing to get on this bus that 10 is his new floor, and of the expensive ones, he's the one I want.
I can totally see it.
This is the transition I'm at. You know I have written this J. Jeff bus the entire season. The Chargers have gotten a couple of games lately where they were good against the pass, but that was because they were letting up the run. They didn't actually get good against the pass. People just chose not to do it, which, again, is a thing with statistics, but it's mostly a coaching choice. If I can run on you, why throw on you? Davante Adams, he's the most talented receiver, I think, actively in football right now. I definitely know J. Jeff and Diggs still exist. But in terms of knowing things and knowing he's going to come down with the ball, I don't think I have more confidence on anyone than Adams.
It's hard not to put him in the lineup. So let's see what we can do with him. Put him in.
Yeah, we saved money already at quarterback. Let's see what we got. So we're at 60.
Go down a little bit more. Let's explore this wide receiver.
I think overall, Bob, our problem is we keep putting ourselves in the low 6,000s. Yes. I think we need to go shopping like the old basketball team.
So
low 7, mid 6.
Christian Kirk is a guy that I'm very interested in this week.
I think that's going to be the blowout game of the week.
And
I think that's put up the most points.
I'm also very interested in Zay Jones this week. Like I said, Detroit, we really don't know what they're going to do. And if this is a Trevor Lawrence game because ETN is a little bit banged up, we don't know if he's playing or not. He's very questionable. And same with Zay Jones. And again, we know that Christian Kirk is going to get the ball. Mm-hmm. And I think that
I'd rather go with Kirk.
I think at 7,500, Christian Kirk is going to be a really good selection this week for anybody who's looking to really accumulate yards and maybe a touchdown or two, because Detroit's defense is beatable, and maybe they key in on him, maybe they don't. And that's kind of the thing about Detroit that I worry about is, we constantly say they're bad, they're bad, they're bad, they're bad. Yes, they are bad, but they key into certain players and then stop them. And you're just like, who's this random guy that just scored a touchdown against Detroit? Like, it happens regularly. And
it does.
And Jacksonville has random guys. And so that's the thing that worries me a little bit about Christian Kirk.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, okay. So go on, Bob. We finish out with receivers, or are we gonna save the last one for
And George Pickens. George Pickens
is clearly Kenny's guy.
And the only other guy that I would even put above Christian Kirk is Garrett Wilson, because that's Mike White's guy now. It was
Yeah, let's stack them because
it
we went
was
with White.
Elijah Moore last year, but he found Garrett Wilson, and I continue to think that he's going to continue to find Garrett Wilson again. And Kenny Pickett is finding George Pickens, and I feel that he's going to continue to find him again and again and again. And his average, if you look at George Pickens' average, it's at 8.3, and he's priced higher than Garrett Wilson. But what I'm really looking at here is
So he's
that
8.3 with 2 games of a 0, and counting the 2 games at a 0, 5 games under 6 points. So
exactly.
mathematically speaking, the other games, he's a double-digit guy and really strong. The question is which one are you getting? And also, look at this. The Steelers have not played a defense that has been below 13th
I
against the
know.
pass.
And that's the thing. That's the thing that's really interesting. Even though they've played Cleveland, that's the thing
But
that's really interesting to me
Yeah.
is that the worst
This is the
go
worst
back to
defense Pickens playing by far.
But go back to Pickens for a moment.
Yeah.
And I want to put up his work. So the absolute worst defense that he's played was Miami. Other than
No, it was Cleveland. Cleveland 18.
No, but I'm not going to take Cleveland because that was too early in the year.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
So yeah, Miami. When he goes 6
once
for 6,
once the mojo was there, the worst defense he played
once
was
Pickens
Miami.
was in there, yeah.
And if you look at actually what he's done against like the good defenses, Jets, he scored 15 or 13. Buffalo, he had 11 because there's garbage time included in that. Miami, Miami 15, Tampa 4, and New Orleans Indy at 9, right? And
Indy's
so
at 0. Or correction, Indy at 9. Philly was the one that's there. Philly, they were just so out of that game.
I'm not even counting that game because they're not going to be out against Atlanta.
Yeah, I see this being a lot more like Indy, New Orleans, where it's going to be a game where they're in it, except for the fact that the pass defense of the Falcons is nowhere near on level of either the Saints or the Colts. I think Kenny is George Pickett's an incredibly good pick. I cannot fault you at all for that. Plus, he saves you a couple bucks. You're at 6,200.
And then if you look at everybody underneath.
Well, there's not a whole lot underneath.
No, that's what I'm saying. If you look at everybody underneath, the only other guy I would even consider outside of Zay Jones and that injury is Christian Watson.
Chicago plays the softest pass defense on the planet.
Right? And so I highly would consider putting in my flex Christian Watson.
Yeah, at 6,500, we'll keep him in mind. So, okay, that's fair. All right, so let's go to the defense and get ourselves some money. So we can get ourselves above the 6,200.
I think the fact that Cleveland's defense is the highest priced defense is so absolutely absurd and amazing at the same time that when I saw it, I had to laugh because realistically speaking, it's so bad. Like their defense isn't that good.
Yeah. All right. So let's look at it this way.
Now
we look at the top 5 defenses. 3 of them belong to be there because they're quality defenses. 2 of them are sticking out like sore thumbs because they're not talented. Cleveland being one of them, and the Packers being the other.
So
Eagles, incredibly talented. Denver, incredibly talented. Seattle, tearing it up.
So with C.J. Gardner-Johnson, with that lacerated kidney, it does affect the Eagles a little bit. But Tennessee's passing offense is just
irrelevant. Yeah.
But who is even more irrelevant is the freaking Rams. They are so irrelevant that Seattle at 4,800 to me doesn't even seem like a bad pick.
It doesn't. But it goes against everything we do with these.
I know that the Rams score is probably going to be under 15. And that's like
I know that.
Like taking
but I don't want to play against a team that's going to quit.
Right? But here's the thing. None of those defenses priced under 3,500. And for the life of me, I can't figure out why the Rams are priced at 3,500. So FanDuel, come and get me on that one because that doesn't make any sense at all.
Dude, the Bears is the one I would take despite the fact that they're going to let up get jillion yards.
The Bears I would not take because if I'm remembering correctly, they did beat the Packers this year, and I don't see the Packers losing twice to the Bears.
Let's confirm that, because I'm not. I need to re-remember that one.
I'm fairly certain that he lost to the Bears. Maybe it was Detroit. Maybe he
lost to Detroit. He didn't lose to the Bears. He beat the Bears in Lambeau at a night game.
So regardless, I am not willing to take that gamble on Justin Fields. I'm not willing to take that gamble for the gajillion yards and potential touchdowns.
Fair enough.
And I'm not willing to take that gamble on Chicago's defense, because if you click on Chicago's defense, it's not good.
The first one they played the Packers, they only scored 5, and they let up 27 points.
But let me really break this down. Is the key to the defense on this FanDuel, which I'm slowly realizing over the course of the year,
it's all turnovers.
You need the turnovers, you need the sacks, and you need an opportunistic defense. And who is an opportunistic defense on this team? Like, that's why I'm scared of taking Seattle that high, because they're a shutdown defense.
Yeah,
I don't think that they're going to. I don't think the Rams are going to turn the ball over, because I don't think they're going to have the ball.
Yeah, that's fair. And when I look at the opportunity defense, I look at a quarterback who has had an incredible amount of fumbles this season. I believe it's second most, only behind Matt Ryan in terms of times physically fumbled the ball. A team that loves sacking people like it's the only thing they know how to
Steelers.
do. And sometimes they even take it to the house. I think the Steelers are the defense of the week this week. Plus, it's in a dome.
At 4,200. See, this is the thing.
See, Seattle's that's going to be a Steelers fans down there. We had 47% of Indianapolis, according to that Vivid ticking site.
Can you click on Seattle for a minute? I just want to make a comparison between Seattle and the Steelers right now.
And this is a $600 difference.
Okay. So as you look at Seattle, you are seeing single-digit points minus the game against the Giants and minus the game against Arizona, where it looks like.
Sacks. But look at these sacks that'll 6, 3, 5, 5.
Right.
Seattle comes at you, man.
But consider it though. 5 sacks, 1 fumble recovery, and they only got 8 points.
Yeah. You don't get a lot of points on your defense, dude.
5 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries, 13 points. Even in the game where they got a defensive turnover and they scored a touchdown, that was against Detroit, and they let up 45 points. So they let up points. And so.
Yeah, if you score a touchdown, the rest of it doesn't matter.
Right. But I look at it and I say, is Seattle going to score a touchdown this week? Potential. But let's see the Steelers so we can have a decent comparison at that $600 difference there. You're seeing
Steelers
a lot
riding high 2 weeks in a row.
You're seeing a lot of low single digits for the Pittsburgh Steelers. A lot of injuries on the Pittsburgh Steelers. You're seeing not a lot of sacks.
Since Watt's been back, let's look at the 4 games of Watt. 26, 10, 2, and 10.
I like it.
I like it too. I think I save money, and I think I'm getting the better product. So running back or tight end?
Let's go to tight end.
I don't think we could afford Kelsey as much as I love putting him in a lineup. There's no one in Cincinnati who's going to slow him down.
No.
Like the only thing that's going to slow down Kelsey at this point is time.
The guy I'm actually looking at, and I'm really curious about him, is Hayden Hurst from Cleveland, because David Njoku is out.
Me too. Dude, I am so on the Hurst trip this week. I'm 100% off the Higbee Express without Matt Stafford.
I need to say that. We're still on it, to be honest with you,
dude. Because when I do my drafts, I only pick up 1 tight end. I never waste time and then I become a tight end streamer. And I just was like, he's Higbee. You got to give him the ball. He's Higbee. And
he's cost you a lot of matchups this year.
That's probably why I'm not making the playoffs, quite frankly. It's because of my obsession with Higbee.
All right. So
him and Taysom Hill.
Hayden Hurst, I'm really interested in because Kansas City. I misspoke when Njoku was out. I like Njoku a lot. Hayden Hurst, I'm really interested in because Kansas. There's going to be a safety valve in that offense for Cincinnati, and I feel that that's going to be Hayden Hurst this week. I'm also really interested in what Cleveland's second tight end has to offer here. Can you go to this? Can you go to Cleveland for a moment? Harrison Bryant. Okay. Now, I like Hayden Hurst more than Harrison Bryant this week, but I am intrigued by this for one reason. Deshaun Watson.
I think Watson's just living on Cooper.
Watson is that guy that for years and years and years has been looking for like a star wide receiver, right? And he has one with Amari Cooper. He had one with D-Hop. And, you know, with
he destroyed that team because they got rid of D-Hop.
It's just amazing the things that happened with Houston in that short span of time. So for those people looking for tight ends, Hayden Hurst is a value tight end this week at the price point that he's at. He has been scoring occasionally touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not going Travis Kelce, or you didn't go George Kittle that one time, or you didn't go Hawkinson, or you didn't go, and the one time that we went Andrews, it sucked. So I am not on the big tight end bus unless it's Travis Kelce, and you just can't afford him no matter what you do.
I've been trying to build lineups with Kelce, and it is ugly.
You have to start guys that are so hit or miss that when they hit, they're like a plus 15,000 to hit touchdown, right? It's like,
it's not
absolutely absurd. So let's go to running backs. Hayden Hurst is the guy this week I think is really interesting. Now we have how much to spend between
72
players.
A man.
All right. So, you know, it doesn't necessarily knock out any of these top guys, but I'm not necessarily interested in any of these top guys minus Derrick Henry. I don't want him in the lineup. I'm just interested in him because, as I've said, Philadelphia's run defense isn't as good as some people say it is, Joe.
Dude, it's good.
And they're beatable. And the only way Tennessee has any semblance of hope in this game is through Derrick Henry. And I think that Philadelphia...
yeah, that's true every Tennessee game.
Right. But I think that Philadelphia is good enough to know that, and I don't think this is a game where he's going to go off. But I still see him as being a decent play this week. So if you do, out of these top guys, if you do want to put him in your lineup, I see that as being a good play. I also see Austin Eckler as being a fantastic play because the Raiders' defense is garbage. And
that's true. There's no other way to say that.
And Eckler is the guy. So if you can afford him at 9,200 and you want to build a lineup around Austin Eckler, do it because he's going to score.
We'll do that as our final one.
Now, Kenneth Walker at 8,100 is the guy.
Yeah, I think that's the price point we got to start at.
And I am willing to take the hit on Walker. How much?
Well, you still got 68 left, so I mean, it's not like you're at the end of the world here.
Okay, so let's go down. Let's do some exploring. Let's put Christian Watson into the flex just so I can see what the final value amount is here.
All right, so that's going to take Jones out of the equation for you then.
It's not like I wanted him.
I do like Aaron Jones this week. I like Aaron Jones a lot this week.
So
seeing how soft the Chicago defense is against the pass, I think Aaron Jones is going to catch a ball like crazy.
Okay, so
I see one guy who's screaming off the page to me right there. And I've been pushing for him all year.
You like Pacheco.
I do. I
see it. I really see it.
Because I look at the rest of them, right? Monty basically doesn't get the ball if Fields is running, and that offense doesn't work unless Fields is running. I love Jeff Wilson whenever there's no Mostert, but Mostert's back, and the Niners don't let up touchdowns. So
I like Brian Robinson.
And also,
again
for the
week.
record, as I've said this 500 times, I'm saying it once more right now. I am firmly betting that the Pittsburgh Steelers have more wins between now and the end of the season. Not saying cumulatively from this point on till the end of the season than the Miami Dolphins. And I also am willing to bet, although I need incredible odds on this, that they will make the playoffs over Miami. I don't think either one makes it, but if one of them would, I would go on top.
That's bold.
Miami's about to implode.
All right, go down a little bit. I just want to see, because I haven't explored these running backs a little bit. So I mean,
here's Damian Pierce. That's the value pick there. Cordell Patterson. You could build yourself a good lineup with Pierce and Swift.
How much is Jamal Williams? Because if Swift is down here at 6,400, how much is Jamal Williams? He must be at like 84.
75.
Yeah.
Jamal Williams got himself some. Breaking down that Detroit Chicago game, he's a lot more than just a handcuff. Like Jamal Williams,
he's really good.
Is very good.
So, I mean, Damian Pierce could be the play for us here.
See, I like Damian Pierce and then upgrading.
I don't see it. Put him in. Let's see how much money we have.
If we put Damian Pierce in, we then have an extra. We can go 71 on the flex.
I don't think I want to.
You just want to stick with Watson?
I think I'd like to stick with Watson. Jordan Love, if he plays, and whatever quarterback plays is going to get the ball to him, and everybody knows it, and they're not going to stop it. Like,
he also scores a lot of passes on a very high clip.
Like, if you just click on him in the games where he has played.
Oh, he puts up big numbers when he's out there.
And I believe, what is it? Cobb is back.
Mm-hmm. Cobb was back for the last two, and he still put up 19 in each of them.
Right.
Now, granted, it was one pass that he got 75 yards and a touchdown on. He doesn't get that play. He had himself like a 7-point game.
Right.
So that's the thing.
But at 7,100, the other guy would have been Aaron Jones, right?
Aaron Jones at 71 would have been P. Ryan Pacheco or Mark Andrews.
So that
Aaron Jones is 74. You can't get Aaron Jones in anyway.
So that's the interesting spot here, is that if you take out Watson and you could put in Mark Andrews, that's a game where he could totally do something. Like Denver's whatever, right? Like, it's really hard to understand what Denver's doing. But this lineup and taking it from this perspective, really, I don't necessarily like Damian Pierce, but I don't necessarily love another running back in that range either, other than Brian Robinson, especially if Antonio Gibson is out. And I mean, you could upgrade Mike White, but I don't really see, if you even go to quarterbacks, I don't even see anybody between 69 and a little bit higher.
69, 75. So you can get up to 75. So you get up to Lawrence.
You can get up to Trevor Lawrence, but I still feel like those two quarterbacks offer you the same.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. Well, Bob, we're gonna save this one here. We're gonna make it official, and let's throw up the ad break.
It's got a lot of potential.
It's got a lot of potential. We're gonna throw up the ad break here, and then we will be back here on the other side. This episode is sponsored by the podcast Father and Joe. Father and Joe aims to bring individuals into a better relationship with God. Each episode discusses an element of the human experience that we all can relate to, as well as questions about faith. What are indulgences? What's going on with purgatory? Why can I mentally grasp the concept of God, but I don't feel him in my heart? During each episode of Father and Joe, we are invited to enhance our relationships, and in doing so, we will improve ourselves and society. Download Father and Joe every Tuesday. So we thank you for watching this episode of Local Football Flavor. We know there's a lot of different things you can be doing with your time, so we appreciate you either listening or watching us in whatever way you're digesting us here today. So we here at the episode want to try to request helping us out in one of three different ways, because all three ways will help us. First is the analytics. If you can either click like or subscribe on whatever platform you're watching us on, it makes a tremendous difference, as those algorithms kind of control what our popularity will be. And you, our listeners, are the only one that can help us win those analytics games. So by clicking like and subscribe, it makes a tremendous deal for us. And leaving reviews and comments help tremendously as well. So that's what we ask as you as a listener to do. If you're interested in the show, you'd like to be a guest on the program, please reach out to us. We love talking to people, and it's our conversation about your favorite team, letting people know what's really going on that the national media normally misses. So we would love to have those conversations with you. And the third way is the sponsors. As you've noticed, we've already had some sponsors reach out to us here. You can see one down here in the corner. You can easily be in the scroller along the bottom, having your own personal message, as well as all other fun things like controlling the jersey I'm going to wear, or that little teddy bear behind me can be one of your team logos things. You can make me wear a stupid cheese head if that's what you want to do. All of those things are available by reaching out to us at localfootballflavor@gmail.com. We thank you guys very much for being a part of the show. And now let's resume to today's episode. So, Bob, as I look this here, I did try to build a lineup around Andrew, or correction, around Kelsey. Because
Okay, let's see it.
To me, there is no other option at tight end that I know I'm getting points at. So I'm looking at this
week in and week out. That's been proven true.
So yeah, exactly. So that's where I'm starting. So just get the elephant out of the box. Big money is going there.
Let's see how many points he has scored. I just want to. I know it's an average of 18. I mean, that's absurd.
Yeah. He actually scored more points 2 weeks ago than they did the week with the 4 touchdowns.
That's absurd. What about the Hawk? What's he scoring?
The Hawk, since he's been in Minnesota, he's had.
It just doesn't make any. But still, it's so. The difference.
If you can get it, it's worth it.
It's worth it.
Yeah. So the challenge we have now is we got to build an engine around this. This is the challenge we have. So we got to start immediately going into cheaper guys. So when I look at who is a guy who's undervalued in a good position where he's got some talent, he's got a really good situation, and that is with Mike Williams out, I really like Josh Palmer. He has been putting up, it's not world beater numbers.
Still out?
Keenan Allen is back, and his numbers didn't change with Allen back last week. So it basically was the same. He's not a flashy guy. He's a high floor guy. He's basically getting me my 10 points. I'm tanking it and rolling on. So, because that's the problem we get.
Option.
When we go, he's the second option.
Third.
Well, he's behind Eckler. That's fair. But in terms of the traditional passing game, that's where he is there. I'm also in love with, as you said, with the George Pickens selection. For all the reasons you said earlier, I really like that pick. And now we get into the situation of I'm saving the last receiver because I'm going to change some things up based compared to what I did earlier. Because when I originally built this lineup, I didn't put Pierce in it, and I want to put Pierce in it. So that's going to actually save me money. That's going to allow me to get a better third receiver that we can talk out. Mm-hmm. Defense world, Steelers are scoring a touchdown on defense. I just don't know how else to say that. I know it's going to happen. It's just going to happen. The Steelers are going to score a touchdown on defense. And when I know that's going to happen, there's no other team worth picking. Mariota loves fumbling the ball. So I'm at 6,900, but I haven't gotten my quarterback yet. And this is where I got myself in the trouble. Because I went with Lawrence, but hearing the argument you just made for Mike White and having him in budget is really kind of appealing. But like I said, I had Lawrence, and
dude, Jimmy G is even Jimmy G is even appealing too.
I don't like Jimmy G. Jimmy G is going to be told, control the ball. Don't let Tyreek Hill beat us. Control the ball.
Fair enough.
All they're going to do is run it. The one I would want is McCaffrey, but there's no way I can afford him. Not with Kelsey. So I'm going to
Another
go with
interesting pick is Daniel Jones because he offers that red zone rushing touchdown potential.
Daniel Jones, the super Josh Allen light. And you know what? I don't like old Milwaukee, Bob, so I'm not going with Daniel Jones. Just the way it is. So
St. Pauli girl.
Yeah, well, St. Paul girl's actually good. I mean, like that's actually like legitimately good.
Dude, I was at the beer store. I was at 3 different beer stores, and I could not find the beer that I liked. So like I settled on a Beta Christmas Ale, which is actually pretty good. It's actually priced right. It's like $10. If we were making like a beer, like fantasy beer list, that'd be pretty difficult for me, I think, because my tastes do depend on the seasons, but my wife's don't, and it's really difficult to find things that my wife likes because all of the stuff is out of season that she likes, which just sucks.
Mine don't change either, but at the end of the day, whenever you just want a good summer shandy and you can't get them in the middle of winter, there was a day earlier this year when I still had my summer shandy left in my keg where it snowed in the morning, but I was going axe throwing. So I was wearing shorts, shoveling snow, drinking a summer shandy. It was awesome.
Dude, and it wasn't skunked?
No, dude. My keg lasts forever. The kegerator is unskunkable. But that's a whole thing as a digression.
Unskunkable. That's impressive.
Sorry. So I got here now with this new upgrade at 6,900 a man. And
Pacheco's sitting there at 71 or at 7,000, dude.
He is, but so is Aaron Jones, who I think is going to be the stud of that game at 74. And I think we'll be able to make it up.
Can you click on him for a minute? Because he's an enigma to me, really.
He is, isn't he?
I've been really struggling with Aaron Jones over the year. And
so since for the last 6 games or so, 24, 17, 5, 22, 11, 17 again. He started the year off horribly.
It's been the targets.
It's the passing game. And Chicago allows some of the softest underneath passes and run after the catch. It's what Chicago's defense allows, thinking they'll be able to run you down.
So this is the thing against Detroit. Okay.
And when he played Chicago the first time, he dropped 30 on them.
Okay. This is the
that's the other.
That. But this is the thing for everybody who wants to pick against Detroit's defense. Don't do it because it's a trap. You take Aaron Jones against Detroit's defense, he scored 5
Well, this is Chicago's defense, not Detroit's.
No, I'm saying when we talk about how bad Detroit's defense actually is, they key in the players and they make them it's like a bad play to play anybody against Detroit. Like that's the worst thing we can do.
Well, again, breaking down that Chicago defense against Detroit's offense, especially in their passing game, is very obviously going to Ahmad. St. Brown is getting the ball, and they were 100% unwilling to stop him and incapable of stopping him. So that's why I'm leaning that way when it's all said and done. The other guy that I'm liking this week, and there's 2 of them, and I actually can afford them both, and I'm pretty sure if I did this right. Nope, I can't. I can only afford one of them. The 2 guys I like this week are Juju and Devontae. I always like Devontae. Let's just start with that. That's kind of not a really held secret.
It's not really healthy either. You should go see your doctor about that.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, he puts up points. And when I look at this lineup here, he gives me a floor. Oh, yes, he does, dude. Here, let's go to his numbers. He is a high floor guy.
Not really. I mean, when I look at these numbers, and I wouldn't call this a high floor guy.
Yeah, I'll tell you about it. He's not. He has inconsistency to his game. Against Houston, he was basically out of the game plan, and then the Steelers, they were winning.
I would say this is a guy that is, when he's keyed in on, he takes his keys and he rides with it.
Mm-hmm.
But when he's not even looked at, he really isn't even looked at. And
He
that's
can
kind of the
disappear at
danger of
times.
him.
That is fair.
One of the things I want you to think about, if you do want to take a guy from Philadelphia, and I don't want to try to talk you into this guy because I really don't know a lot about Philadelphia as much as you do, but I'm really interested in Quez Watkins. I just picked him up in my league because Brandon Cooks is out, and it's a 14-team league, and I'm just trying to. It's a fun league, and whatever it is, whatever it is. But if you look at Quez Watkins for a moment, and he's gonna be cheap.
That's Sammy. Right? You want Quez
5,600. When I look at it, I see Devonta Smith light, where I'm either getting.
See, he's been getting the touchdowns. You get the touchdowns, you get the points. You don't.
And so
see,
I'm
Smith gets more targets.
And this is what destroys our week every week is we go for a touchdown dependent wide receiver who ends up getting like 0 points.
Which is why I'm going to go away from that this week. This is me learning my lesson, Bob. And for that final receiver slot, I'm as much as I can't stand him, as I'm going with Juju. Because when he's out there and he's healthy, he gets targeted basically 8 times a game. And in general, the guy brings it in. So given the fact that they're going, you look at the games when Kansas City.
Given the fact that this game is most likely going to be a boat race, I get that. I understand.
Yeah, that's basically it. So then we got 64 for the flex. Not ideal.
Watch it be a Valdez-Scantling game.
I'm not sure there's going to be another one of those after he got hurt.
Coming back from the dead.
So 6,400, there are a lot of interesting possibilities here. Obviously Latavius Murray means nothing to me.
One of the interesting possibilities, and again,
is Swift.
Not trying to talk you into anything. Adam Thielen. You have been dogging Adam Thielen for a long time. Yes, he is the 4th option, but against a very good and satisfactory defense, he is a first option in my mind because it feels to me
got 10 targets against New England. I watched a game and it didn't click. But I guess it should have. They kept saying his name.
It feels to me like if they're gonna key in on J. Jeff,
and Cousins does throw him the ball in the red zone.
If
that
they're
is
gonna
true.
key in on Cook, and if they're gonna key in on like if Sauce Gardner is gonna be on J. Jeff all game, Adam Thielen just seems like the guy. I mean, if you're building a budget lineup, like again, don't want to talk you into it, but it just
see. I was leaning Swift because I was like, Swift could give me a home run now that he's healthy.
Swift
we go when he was healthy
at the
and when he was healthy at the beginning of the year, he went off.
Here's the thing. They got to move away from Jamal Williams, and I don't know if they're going to do that. And I don't know if they're willing to split it because DeAndre Swift is fragile. So, like...
That's true.
Like, at 6,400, the potential for explosion is totally there. And his potential for explosion is more than Adam Thielen's potential for explosion.
Well, he's got less mouths to get through.
And so, like, if you look at it and you want the potential, Swift's the guy because he's priced right. He's playing a team that is totally beatable. Like, they probably aren't game planning for DeAndre Swift. They're probably game planning for Jamal Williams.
And they do run differently. Swift is a...
And if Jamal Williams comes out flat, I'm not saying they're probably not going to, but I'm saying, like, they're probably going to have less experience doing it for DeAndre than they will for anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just feels like you're right, and it feels like it's, like, going to be a really sneaky play this week.
I like it. He also could be the trap at 6,400, being like, oh, that guy was first round pick in everyone's league, and now he's 6,400. Like, he's a trap. He's a trap.
But... I mean, you got 2 guys that are probably going to be in a boat race, so like I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and I really like the fact that I comfortably built a lineup that included Kelsey. I got 2 Kansas City guys, but I'm fine with that.
You got 2 good Kansas City guys though too.
Yeah. I mean, obviously Pacheco's worth having, but they're not giving Pacheco touchdowns yet, and I think that that's very much an Andy Reid rookie thing. I think that that's just part of it. So,
all right,
so, Bob. Let's do the combo one here. You said you wanted to build one with Eckler.
I think we can. I think we should. I think we should see how it goes.
All right, so start with Eckler and take me from there.
So, I think Christian Watson has to be in this lineup.
Okay. I'm also going to argue for Palmer.
If you got to build that high, if you're going to build Austin Eckler, you got to build Christian Watson. I mean, it
you probably also have to go Pierce, don't you?
You got to go Pierce as well. That is I think 6,500, and let's go see if there's anybody below 6,500. Swift. So,
yeah, but I know Pierce is the one, and he's playing a crap defense.
Right. So go down a little bit more. Let's see if there's anybody kind of like floating around down here that's like.
I mean, you got Cam Akers, who is a starter, but do you really want to play Cam Akers?
Oh, the guy that I forgot to even do this is that Zonovan Knight guy sitting right there at that slot. They made James Robinson a healthy scratch last week. Now, I don't know if because Michael Carter is doubtful now this week, if they're actually going to play this guy. I'm intrigued by him, but I mean, how could you not give the ball to James Robinson? But also at the same point in time, this guy threw up, I think, 110 yards.
No, it says 63 or something.
Okay, so 63 and a touchdown, right?
Yeah, 60. Correction. It was 100 total yards. So that's what he did.
100 total yards. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, like, that's just really curious to me. Like, you make James Robinson a healthy scratch. Do you come back and play him? Like, are the Jets going to need a running back in this game? I would think that it would be a good idea.
Yeah, no, that's.
But it's definitely very, very much.
It's a lot of risk for only a $700 increase, though.
Yeah, it is. Because you don't know if he's, and that's our problem every week. We know we want to take a low ball risk here and see, what can you do. But Dameon Pierce is the guy. He's going to get the ball. If you click on Dameon Pierce, you can obviously see that he's averaging 11 points. But he has had 2 of his lowest outputs over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, so I mean that's the risk. Does he get back to it? Does he get at it? And hopefully the answer becomes yes.
He hasn't even touched the ball. 8 yards.
Yeah, 5 carries, but he did get 6 targets, so it's not like they're pulling him off the field. It's also who else do they have to replace him? He is clearly who Houston's offense is built on.
The thing is, they took him off the field against Miami.
Yeah. But all right, so let's go to defense world. Get ourselves some cash.
So if we're building for cash, oh my God.
I don't think any of these cheap ones we can do.
It's Chicago.
Chicago's the only one. But
like I said, I don't even think it's a smart play. I don't think it's
a smart play either.
Miami?
You can make an argument for Miami, but with the Steelers being only 500 more.
You can make an argument for Baltimore.
A very good argument for Baltimore. That's why they're expensive.
They're 4,500.
Yeah.
I think Steelers has to be the play at 42.
I think it is too. All right, that gets our cash up to 67. We're going to have to go cheap on the quarterback, and we've already. Do you want to go Pickett or do you want to go White? I'm all with riding the White bus.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, why not? It's there.
Yeah. So let's go to tight end, see if we can get someone cheap and maybe have a cash or two for the.
I think so. Go down. Let's go down. Let's just explore a little bit. Okay.
And I want to
Cole
see if
Kmet
this
is
is just
Cole Kmet is
biased
interesting.
because I just have. Yeah, never mind. We're not doing that. All right, you said Komet.
Cole Kmet is interesting.
What did he do against Green Bay the first time? Nothing.
But again, Justin Fields, you know.
All right, yeah. So we look at the last 4 games: 6, 7, 4, and 6 in terms of targets. He had those 2 games with the 2 touchdowns, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. I mean, he started over, so X out of him. Like, I mean, at 5,000, that gives you a bunch to spend.
Might as well just go
Tyler Conklin.
53 and stick with Hurst. We know he's part of the offense.
I'm really curious, but I'm really curious about Tyler Conklin. Did he do anything with Mike White last week?
3 for 50. Not horrible.
Not bad.
Let's
not go to tight end yet. Let's not go to tight end yet.
All right, let's not. We're going back to receiver. At 6,600, we compare him with Garrett Wilson, which I'm okay with doing.
Garrett Wilson has to be a play. Absolutely, 100%.
All right, so at 6,700, I don't like Deontay Johnson at all.
I don't either.
I don't like Tyler Boyd, mostly because of the unknown.
Do you like Peoples-Jones?
Peoples-Jones is interesting because if he starts chucking that ball deep, which Watson loves doing, Peoples-Jones is going to be the one.
Amari Cooper has been really good, though. What's Amari Cooper's price? He's got to be like at 80.
Oh, Cooper's
80,
up there.
8,000 at least.
78.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't want to go there.
It's possible.
So, I mean, he could go Thielen, could go Donovan, could go Van Jefferson. See the factor number 1 there with Robinson hurt?
No, I'm not taking anybody that catches the ball from John Wolford. That's or fair. Perkins or that guy Perkins. I don't even know. Is everybody healthy in Baltimore? Because Demarcus Robinson smacked a couple weeks ago.
So did the old man who could fly last week, caught a really good deep ball, who was at Philadelphia forever. Here, let me pull him up. As soon as you see his name, you're going to know who I'm talking about.
Deshaun Jackson.
Deshaun Jackson, yeah. I don't want to touch that. Baltimore has not been scoring a lot of points lately. And while I do think that they will win the game, because I don't see a scenario where Baltimore loses 2 in a row to teams they should beat. I don't see it being.
I mean, that's fair.
Game.
That's fair. I mean, I hate to build the same lineup 3 times, but I mean, George Pickens is there.
Yeah, I'd like to try to see it.
Whoa. Treylon Burks is there too.
Let's see what Burks been up to lately. Ooh, putting up some good points the last 2 weeks. Yeah, let's give him a floater. 15 and 14 the last 2 weeks, coming back from the injury.
Is better. I mean, he's in the game though. Like, I mean, he's in the game plan. So
he is. They're not that much better. They're just 9th. The team he played last week was 13th. I mean, it's not like that's night and day. We're going with him. Toss him in there. A little spice of life type thing. All right.
So tight end and flex. So
7,000 for each.
Here's the fun part about this: we're gonna get $8,000 if we take Hayden Hurst, or we can take Travis Kelce and go with the mess at 5,000.
I want to do that.
I don't think we can.
We're gonna find out if we can, Bob. We're about to go look. We're going super gutter shopping. Jump in, baby. Let's see what we got.
No, but here's the fun of the gutter shopping. Ready? So you just proved that you can make.
We just made a lineup with Eckler and Kelce.
8,700. So hold on. If you don't go Kelce here and you go Hayden Hurst, you have $8,700 to spend
on our flex. So 8,700 for the record. at the flex is Saquon, Devontae Adams, J. Jeff. I'd rather have Kelsey than all of them.
That's
Not
bold.
because I don't trust any of them. It's because the gap between Kelsey and number 2 is there. And there's always a chance that, Devontae Adams can be a slow day for him, could be just 90 yards and no touchdowns. Garrett Wilson can get a stupid touchdown, roll in and, match him. There's no one's going. Kelsey's putting up 2 touchdowns. I'm willing to make that bet right now.
All right, so let's.
Actually,
let's
I'm pretty sure I'm going to make that bet. I might make that as soon as we log off here.
Let's explore that flex.
We were in love with Jahan Dotson at the beginning of the year.
No.
No, now.
Yeah, dude. Like I really logistically.
This gets ugly fast. Well, Foster Monroe's the starter down there.
Yeah, but I'm not taking. I'm just not.
We have looked at the Duvernay experience in the past.
I'm not willing to bet on Duvernay again.
Nope. Good. Glad. So what's the story with Josh Reynolds?
I don't know. To be honest with you, I have no idea.
Yeah, it was real hot there for a minute, and then
that's because
he's still injured. Out. He hasn't played since Halloween.
Yeah, and Amon-Ra was out when he was playing and really hot.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And this gets ugly. Look at Randall Cobb.
Dude, and this is what I'm saying is like okay. So does it get any less uglier if you go down to Kenny Pickett and you get that extra $200 and you jump up to 58?
At 58, we're looking at Kareem Hunt, Miko Collins, Valdez. Yeah, nothing's truly exciting there.
Okay. So,
yeah, dude.
Click on him for a minute. I know he's our centerpiece. I just want to click on him for a moment, and I do still want to build a lineup around him here.
Oh, we are. I mean, you have potential of 30.
I mean, it's just absurd. Okay, so what happens?
He blows up bad teams.
What happens if get out of there? What happens if we move on from Pierce or move on from Kelsey? And this is why I'm saying this is that moving on from Kelsey, you're moving on from a potential of 30 points. Is it worth it to move on from Kelsey? That's what I'm asking.
Well, the question is when's your finishing here? So we could still do Kelsey and finish it out with
I think you got to take like a guy like Quez Watkins on potential.
Or you can just say, you know what? I'm just going to give another tight end in there and put Hurst in. And then spend 300 more somewhere else.
But I don't think that's even worth it.
Well, finishes your roster.
Right. But I'm saying that, like, logistically speaking,
you'd rather get the combination and get the cheaper tight end. So I like Everett, by the way. For all the arguments I made with Josh Palmer, Everett seems like he might be kind of turning on. But the thing is, Everett's floor is much lower than a Hayden Hurst. And
so is it possible to go Kelsey and Josh Palmer, or is Palmer priced out for us?
Where is Palmer? Palmer's 66. That's basically where we're at. Yeah, we could do Palmer and Andrews though. And Andrews is Baltimore's entire offense when he's healthy.
Yeah.
I think
Denver,
I think I like the combination more of Kelsey and Hurts though. Because I know Kelsey's gonna produce more than Andrews. I think it's gonna be by a very wide margin. And like I said, given
what
the fact that we can
happens?
afford
What happens if we go down to Chicago's defense?
we go to the Bears, we end up with 66. Now we're talking a different world on the flex.
Do you think the Steelers are worth that when we're talking about Hayden Hurst and the Steelers versus the Bears? And
No, if I can get Josh Palmer instead of Hayden Hurst, I think that. I mean, you're all about did the Steelers take one to the house, and I think they're going to get a ton of sacks. I know Rodgers looks bad. The thing that could blow this thing up, and even though it would only be a -1, is if Love comes in and rips it apart. Because at this point, I know Love is a better quarterback than Rodgers. I saw that game. I saw that second half. Love was vastly better than Rodgers.
what's the most minus they've gotten though?
The Bears?
Yeah.
Biggest negative of the Bears is a -1. Their biggest upside is a +10. When they played Green Bay last time, they got 5.
What's the highest negative they can get?
Well, considering that they let up 43 points and they only got -1, I'm going to say it might be -1.
So that doesn't scream to me that that's that bad.
That doesn't scream to me. I'd wait. The combination of Kelsey and Palmer to me is worth. I like this. Might be of the 3 lineups we made here. This might be my favorite one, Bob.
It's definitely an interesting lineup for sure. I'll say that 100%. Now, I might not go with Josh Palmer. I might choose Brian Robinson. I do like Brian Robinson. He screwed us the week that we took him. But Antonio Gibson's not like entirely healthy. And so like the week we took him was against Houston. That didn't materialize in the way that we thought. But he consistently gets the ball.
He does.
And that's one of the things that like
needs to be doesn't really seem to he seems to be irrelevant to his oppositional ranking. Putting up 14 against Philly. Again,
like I said, Philly's not that good.
Second best against the run, dude.
They're not that good against the run.
They're the second best defense against.
Can you go to Philadelphia's defense for a moment so we can just explore this for just a second? You can screenshot this team for whatever you want, okay? But I want you to look at what they've done against Green Bay. I want you to look at and you don't even have to look at this on FanDuel. You can go to like ESPN. But I want you to look at those games: Jones, Taylor, Robinson, and I just want to see why they're still ranked second against the run.
Because they're never on the field. Offense holds the ball forever.
Right. So does that mean they're actually good against the run, or is this that they don't get the people don't get the ball?
It means no one runs against them because they're always losing. So when we look at their stats here, what stats do you want, Bob?
No, I want their schedule.
You want their schedule. Oh.
Gross.
Sometimes you push the wrong button, Bob. Life's going to happen.
All right. So click on that Packers game when you get to the schedule there.
All right.
Hurts. Wow. Yeah. Click on the Packers so we can see how many yards Aaron Jones had. That game.
AJ Dillon led the team with
64.
64, yeah.
Right. So and I know Taylor did good, and I know that Robinson did good, and so I'm interested in what
I agree
What's
that
going on?
I'm actually more inclined to take a running back. I'm always more inclined on the running back than I am on the receiver in general, especially when it's getting high volume like that. So I'm good with that. Um, and again, it goes down to the fact that Herbert puts the ball whoever's open. Herbert doesn't just fall in love with someone. And
Mhm.
this also the second game with Keenan Allen back. You know, you could see a big uptick there. So
And Austin
because Keenan
Eckler's
Allen
still
was
there.
on a pitch count last game.
And Brian Robinson, like, I don't know how good the Giants defense is against the run here,
The 8th, or
but
correction, oppositional ranked 20th.
so it seems like a game that the Commanders are going to be in for a little while.
It could be a game that could be an upset game. So let's make that the final lineup here, Bob, and you present the final thoughts of this episode.
All right, so I mean, here's the thing: any DFS lineup should be built with Travis Kelce. At this point in time, as human beings in fantasy, we know he is the best tight end there is. And he is the best tight end there is since Tony Gonzalez, since,
Gronk.
who am I forgetting? Shannon Sharp. Who else am I forgetting?
Gronk.
Gronk, right? So, like, when we look at the head and shoulders best tight ends in the league, they are guys that we regularly say don't take in the first or second round, but they're the guys that regularly perform first or second round almost every single week. Mm-hmm. And you are not missing a beat if you have those guys, because you have obviously done your homework and you're like, oh my gosh, like, he is the best guy and I'm going to take him over Kamara. I'm going to take him over these guys because he is the best. And Mark Andrews is the only guy that comes close to that in a given year ever. And so it's really, and Kittle has like occasionally had some really great games, but like, if you're building a fantasy lineup and you want to keep pace, Travis Kelce has to be the guy, which means that you really have to know these guys on the lower end. Mm-hmm. And I think with a lineup like this, those guys have the potential to really go off, and they might not, but they have proven again that they can. Oh, and yeah. Travis Kelce does. And if Travis Kelce gets under 10 points this week because I've talked him up, come back and blame me, because that's the type of thing that will happen when I talk up a guy. And if it does happen, I will just say I'm never going to do that again to any other player, because I can't own a player's jersey without them getting hurt. So, like, that's why I don't wear jerseys, because for the most part, because they're guys I either have to wear retired jerseys or guys that are like not playing anymore, because it's just screws everything over. But he will not score under 10 points. It's almost impossible.
Yeah, that's so true. Well, on that note, we're going to call this a week. We're finally back post shoulder surgery and everything. Hope you guys are enjoying the shorts. Obviously, you are of the Philly, or correction, of the Chicago game that we've been putting out, Chicago and Detroit. We'll get more of those back on Monday. I'm not going to get a whole lot of shorts this weekend, but tomorrow you are going to get the episode where we talk down with a Seattle Seahawks look-in. Coming at you tomorrow, Saturday.